Picture a child, just sitting at the kitchen table, staring blankly at a math worksheet. The clock is ticking.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Right. You see the pencil tapping, you hear that heavy sigh, and our immediate societal reflex is to just point at that child and say, well, there it is, a discipline problem.
We completely assume it's a lack of motivation, just a flat-out refusal to focus.
Exactly. But today, on this deep dive, we are basically dismantling everything we think we know about children's attention spans and traditional schooling.
Which is a huge paradigm shift, because that narrative we tell ourselves, it's honestly just a comforting story for adults. We like to categorize it as willpower because, willpower is something we can discipline.
But when you actually step into the world of neurodevelopment, that neat little behavioral story just completely falls apart.
It really does.
What if I told you that forcing an 8-year-old to focus on a single academic task for an hour is literally a biological impossibility?
Right. It's a hardware issue, not a parenting failure.
So we're pulling from a pretty amazing stack of sources today. We've got a homeschool planner, a massive research source pack, and this lesson script titled, How Long Can Your Child Actually Focus?
And the central premise across all this data is that we are constantly asking kids to do something their biology just has not developed the capacity to do yet.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
So to understand why we get this so wrong, we have to look at where these expectations came from in the first place.
Right, the traditional 7-hour school day.
Yes. That 7-hour day is like this invisible yardstick.
Right.
We assume if school is 8 to 3, a kid is neurologically capable of absorbing information for 7 hours straight.
But if you actually break down a typical public school day, that whole illusion just shatters.
Let's actually look at the math here because it's blew my mind. You've got about 15 minutes of commute or arrival time.
Oh, and roughly 40 minutes just for transitioning between classrooms.
Right, and then another 40 minutes for lunch and recess. Then, this is the crazy part, an astonishing 75 minutes dedicated purely to classroom management.
Yeah, literally just getting 25 kids to quiet down or line up or find the right textbook page.
Which heavily eats into the day. And then you have about 50 minutes of independent busy work or worksheets.
And around 105 minutes of just broad group lecture.
Wait, hold on. Let me just stop you there because I want to make sure I'm totally grasping this.
Go for it.
When you strip away all those transitions and the behavioral management and the group lectures where a kid might be completely lost anyway, the data says that in a 7-hour day, a child is only getting about 15 minutes of actual personalized one-on-one instruction.
15 minutes. Yes.
That sounds impossible. I mean, parents agonize over this massive 7-hour slog, and the actual caloric educational value is 15 minutes.
It sounds shocking, I know. But from an efficiency standpoint, it is completely accurate.
Wow.
Because in a traditional classroom, you have a ratio of 1 teacher to 25, maybe 30 students. The pace just has to be set to the average.
Right, so the fast learners are bored and the slower learners are just totally lost.
Exactly. Plus, errors are caught days later when a worksheet finally gets graded.
But when you take that learning into a one-on-one environment like homeschooling or even just helping with homework, it flips completely.
The ratio becomes 1-to-1. The feedback is instant.
Right. If they misunderstand a fraction, you catch it on step 1. Not after 20 wrong problems.
And you get to move at their exact neurodevelopmental pace.
The sources use this analogy that I love. It's the slow cooker versus the microwave.
Oh, yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
School is the slow cooker,
Yeah.
right? Long, low heat, honestly, a lot of wasted energy. But one-on-one focused learning is the microwave. Short, intense, highly efficient.
You're completely removing the wasted time from the system.
Okay, but let's unpack this for a second.
Mhm.
If we condense 7 hours into, say, 90 minutes, doesn't that just mean we're cramming? Is it fundamentally a different type of learning?
That is a totally valid question, but no, it's not cramming. Cramming implies you are forcing excessive information into a stressed system. What you're actually doing here is maximizing the brain's natural engagement window, and that's where we pivot to the actual biology of attention.
Right, the hardware. Because why do kids actually tune out? We have data on this, right?
Oh, tons of it. There's a major study by Godwin and her team from 2016. They observed over 52 elementary classrooms.
And what did they find?
They found that on-task behavior sharply declines after just 10 minutes of direct instruction.
10 minutes.
Just 10 minutes. And it didn't even matter how entertaining the teacher was. Students spent over 25% of class time completely distracted.
Because it's a hardware issue.
Exactly. We are talking about the prefrontal cortex here. That's the part of the brain handling sustained attention and working memory.
And in a young child, that area is basically under construction.
Heavy construction.
Yeah.
Focusing on a difficult academic task takes an enormous amount of metabolic energy, literally glucose in the brain. They deplete it way faster than adults do.
Right. So here's where it gets really interesting for me. The sources use this phone battery analogy.
Yes, I love this one.
A young kid basically has a 15% battery limit. A tween might have 60%. But you physically cannot charge it past the hardware limit.
You really can't. Research by Betts and colleagues in 2006 maps this out. Sustained attention develops rapidly between ages 5 and 9.
But then it plateaus, right?
Yeah, it hits a wall from about 8 to 12.
So if this is purely a hardware issue, why do we constantly treat a kid losing focus as a discipline problem?
Because we expect them to function like adults. Think of it like a sprint analogy.
Okay, walk me through that.
Asking a 6-year-old to focus for 45 minutes is like asking an average adult to sprint at top speed for 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
You have the lungs for breathing, they have the brain for learning, but neither of you has the metabolic capacity to maintain that intensity.
Right. If I collapse after 3 minutes of sprinting, you don't give me detention. You call it human biology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is a powerful quote from the source pack here. Telling them to focus harder is like telling them to grow taller.
I mean, that should be on a billboard. It
Yeah.
completely removes the parental guilt.
It really does. So now that we know we cannot change the hardware, we have to design an operating system that works with the battery life they actually have.
Yes. Let's get into the practical side. How do we structure this?
Well, the research provides specific age brackets derived from what educators call the gradual release of responsibility model.
Okay, so what are the actual numbers? Like for young kids, say kindergarten through 2nd grade.
For ages 5 to 7, their block is just 10 to 12 minutes.
That's it.
That's it, for a total of maybe 30 to 36 minutes a day.
If you're listening right now and you have a 7-year-old, I know you were probably panicking like 30 minutes a day, they're going to fall behind.
But they won't, and we'll get to why. But let's finish the brackets. Ages 8 to 10 can do 12 to 15-minute blocks, about 60 minutes total a day.
Okay, so bumping it up a bit.
Right. Middle schoolers, ages 11 to 13, can handle 15 to 20-minute blocks, maxing out around 100 minutes a day.
And high schoolers?
Ages 14 and up finally hit that 20-minute block capability for maybe 2 hours total a day.
Okay, theory is great, but let's look at the real-world case study from the sources. Lori and her 3 kids.
Yes, this perfectly illustrates it.
So her youngest, Jackson, is in that early bracket. 20 minutes of reading is his absolute sweet spot.
But if she pushes to 30 minutes...
Complete meltdown.
Yeah.
And not because he's being bad, but because his battery is literally at 0.
He hit the hardware limit.
Exactly. Then there's Tyler, the middle kid.
Oh.
He's a slower-paced learner. Without a timer, a subject would take him 30 to 40 minutes of just drifting.
Staring at the wall, tapping the pencil.
Right. But when they introduced a timer for his specific bracket, he started finishing in 10 to 15 minutes. And I love this part, the explain back rule.
He's brilliant.
If Tyler finishes early and can explain the concept back to prove he gets it, he gets his free time back.
Which is an incredible incentive structure.
It really is. In a traditional classroom, if you finish early, your reward is just more busy work.
You're penalized for efficiency.
Exactly. And finally, Kaylee, the oldest. She sets a timer, does 5 to 10-minute bursts, and finishes her entire day of focused learning in an hour.
But I do want to emphasize, these brackets are baselines, not ceilings.
What do you mean?
The brilliance is the adaptability. If the baseline is 15 minutes, but today they hit a wall at 12 minutes, you stop at 12.
Okay, so knowing the length of the block is only half the battle, what actually happens inside those 10 to 20 minutes?
We need to look at the anatomy of a perfect block. There is a rigid 5-step structure.
Step 1 is the start signal, right? You physically start a timer to cue the brain.
Yes. Step 2 is one subject. You never mix math and reading. Keep the cognitive target singular.
Makes sense. Step 3 is full attention. So no phones, no TV, no parent checking an email. Just complete focus.
And step 4 is crucial. Feedback. They call this perfect practice.
Catching mistakes immediately.
Right. Because you're right there. If they carry a 1 incorrectly in math, you fix it instantly. They don't bake that error into their brain by doing 20 wrong problems.
And then step 5, the stop signal. The timer ends, clean break. But wait, if we break learning into these tiny chunks, How do they actually retain anything?
We have to look at the Kang 2025 meta-analysis. It compared distributed practice, which is
Yeah.
these short blocks, against massed practice, which is the traditional long session.
And distributed practice wins out?
Heavily outperforms it. It showed a moderate effect size of D equals 0.54.
Oh, wow. That's significant.
Extremely. Because when you cram, the brain creates a bottleneck and discards information. Short blocks let the brain physically encode the data.
Which brings us to the golden rule of the focus block. And I'm going to push back hard on this one on behalf of the
I don't
listener.
know exactly what you're going to say.
The rule is stop before they want to stop. End on a high note.
Yeah.
Every time. So if my kid is crushing math, they're in the zone, feeling super proud, and that 15-minute timer goes off, you want me to just stop them in their tracks? Why halt that momentum?
I know, it feels deeply counterintuitive, but this is honestly the most important concept in the whole framework.
Explain the psychology here, because it feels wrong.
It relies on the peak end rule. Humans judge an experience based on how they felt at its peak and at its end.
Okay, so if I let them keep going.
By minute 25, their battery is dying.
Yeah.
By minute 35, they are frustrated, making mistakes, begging to stop.
Right.
Tomorrow, when you say time for math, they feel dread. Their brain associates math with failure and exhaustion.
Oh, I see.
But if you stop at minute 15 while they're feeling brilliant tomorrow, they'll sit down eagerly.
Because you're engineering a dopamine response. You're preserving their appetite for learning.
Exactly. You end on a high note today to guarantee tomorrow's success.
So if the actual seated learning only takes like 60 to 90 minutes a day, what on earth is the child doing with the rest of their time?
This is where we talk about the biological necessity of breaks and what the sources call the invisible classroom.
Let's start with the breaks. The American Academy of Pediatrics says breaks are neurologically necessary, right? They aren't a reward.
Correct. The brain literally needs an interruption to file away what it just learned.
There's that recess data from Jarrett, too. Without recess, kids were on task 85% of the time.
But with recess, it jumped to 90%, and fidgeting dropped from 16% to just 7%.
So the breaks are mandatory. But what happens between those blocks is the invisible classroom. Learning doesn't actually stop.
Not at all.
Like cooking is measuring and chemistry.
Yeah.
Playing outside is risk assessment and physics.
Building with tools is spatial reasoning. Even a family game night is just mental math and strategy.
It's the ultimate equation. Brain food, that 90 minutes of focused blocks plus the invisible classroom all day equals real education.
Yes.
You know, connecting this directly to you, the listener. If you're a working professional, you probably know the Pomodoro technique, right?
Oh, sure. 25 minutes of work, 5-minute break.
Exactly. Adults use this exact same science to maximize productivity and avoid burnout. But somehow we forgot to apply adult productivity research to kids.
It's a huge double standard. We demand kids grind for 7 hours when we can't even get through a morning without a coffee break.
So true.
But adopting this system requires a huge sacrifice of ego. You have to let go of that societal conditioning that says more time equals more learning.
Let's quickly recap this for the listener. The main takeaway today is that attention spans are hardware, not willpower.
Absolutely.
By using short, focused blocks, instant feedback, and intentional breaks, you can achieve way more in 90 minutes than a 7-hour slog.
You're working with the brain, not against it.
Which leaves us with a final lingering thought for you to ponder.
Oh, this is a good one.
If we now know that a 12-year-old's biological limit for deep focus is roughly 25 minutes, and that short, distributed blocks are scientifically the best way to absorb information,
Yeah.
how much of our adult 8-hour workday is actually just adult classroom management?
I mean, that is a very dangerous question to ask if you have an office job to get to.
Right. Maybe we're all just staring at our screens waiting for the timer to go off. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. See you next time.